Hello there, everyone. Welcome to Coffee Time Career Chat. My name is Patricia Hayes. I am your executive advisor, career empowerment coach, and authentic networking strategist. All those things mean I love helping you get to the next level of where you'd like to be professionally and personally, and to do so in an authentic way that's aligned with your core values, right? So we are continuing our conversation about recentering you in your career. You know, it's a new year. I'm not the resolutions person. I let that go some years ago, but I do set goals because goals can be adjusted and shifted without the shame and the guilt that comes along with not, quote, accomplishing your resolution, right? So here's one of the things that's really important, though, is when you're starting a new year, we have all these great expectations for ourselves, but we don't necessarily assign a roadmap for it, right? That's a good little word. We don't assign a roadmap for it. So that's what I kind of decided to focus on for the beginning of this year, which is why I called it recentering you in your career or your business, whatever you want to call it. But we're really been talking about how to start the new year. That's how we started. Let me make sure I go back here about it's a new year, how we recentered you. We also talk about adjusting your focus, because that's really important when you're trying to make a shift, a significant shift. And so that said, now we're at that point of saying, hey, if you really want to move forward in what you're going to do in this new calendar year, or whenever you're watching this, you're really ready to move forward, then you have to engage in quality self-care. And what do I mean by that? Well, because we hear that all the time, right? And I admit one of my favorite things, little sayings, is self-care is not selfish, because that's what people align it with. It's like, oh, I'm going to go do this thing and, go to, the spa or whatever. It is like, oh, that's such a, quote, selfish thing to do. And when in reality, when you're focusing on you, you actually help others. Remember that old saying about, excuse me, when the flight attendants tell you to, in the case of emergency, put on the mask of, your own mask first before helping someone else, is exactly the same thing. Because if you are not in well enough shape to take care of you, you cannot take care of others. And by taking care of others, I mean your business, your priorities, your projects, not just other people, right? That's a whole other ball of wax. But in any case, if you don't do it, you can't take care of anybody. Been there, done that, right? Overextend yourself, helping everyone else first, except for you. And then you have the lovely experience of achieving burnout, of having major health issues, all that. None of that stuff is accidental, right? And so you might say, well, hello, aren't you I don't consider myself a career coach, but an advisor. Well, yeah. And executives and leaders need to take care of themselves. So, your health is your wealth. I've heard that. You've probably heard it, and you're like, it wasn't until recent years, especially after I went out on my own and just so many things coming at me, so many times, that I really understood the value of the fact that your health is your wealth. That if you are healthy and taking care of yourself, that will allow you to address any issues that come up from a stronger space than if you are not. Because if you are concerned with your health, then it does not put you in the right frame of mind to be able to deal with those challenges that come your way. Okay. I've shared some of those stories down through the years. I'll probably will do it again sometime soon, but that's not the sole point here. The other thing that came up, and I love hearing this story. So if you know me, we follow football in my house because, I've got a son who's on the recruiting trail. My husband is a former football, player, and football is life in this house, right? And I'm still learning. But in any case, so in listening to some of the stories during the college football playoffs and leading up to it, there's all these human interest stories. And there was one about Longhorn coach, UT coach, Steve Sarkisian. And I thought they were going to head down another path with some of his other issues that he dealt with alcoholism and all of that. But that is not where they went. They started talking about a story from 2020 that I did not know about. And it was about how when he went to work for Alabama, coach Nick Saban, how one of the things that Nick Saban requires and is an executive executive health review, right? You have to go in, you're in a top position in his organization, you must go in for an executive medical visit. I'm losing my words here. But anyway, you must go do it. So that's what he did. So he did it because it was required. And literally not even days later, like I think it was within 24 hours, they called back to the admin folks like, we got a problem. And it was because they discovered that he had this major heart valve issue, as in like he only had 2 and he was supposed to have 3, and he had this aneurysm just sitting there waiting to burst. And I was like, oh my gosh. And they have started off by showing this huge scar in his chest. So anyway, I moved forward. Apparently within 4 days of that health exam, he underwent major heart surgery and then had to rehabilitate. And he was rehabilitating pretty quickly because he wanted to be back on the field. He wanted to be ready. And so it goes on and tells a story about how he did those things. He, did the walking, he did the whatever was required of him, so that by the time that camp started at that summer, he was on the sidelines. And he had acknowledged, when he was having one of those times when he was having a hard time walking that hill, he's like, if I can't walk this hill, I cannot coach football. So I have got to finish this walk. And so he pulled himself together and he did it. It came back. And here's the thing. This was for someone who is now coaching a top 4 football program. And to know that he just went through this only 3 years ago is just phenomenal. And there are tons of stories like that, right? And sometimes they're not so great, right? They don't always make it through. This is the point of where it's like your health is your wealth. If you really want to achieve your personal goals, if you really want to achieve your professional goals, you must prioritize your self-care, which includes health in so many ways. We were talking about the physical health there, but we're going to talk about some of these others, right? Things that need to be taken care of that you need to focus on, because the reality is, most people aren't going to do it for you, and most people can't. Okay. You have to take matters into your own hands, because it does matter for you professionally, right? If you have not managed your self-care, it will show up. Not just personally, because you can only, quote, hide that for so long. It will seep into your professional life, your business life, all of those things, and impact it severely. Okay. And I'm not talking about what I think, I'm talking about what I know. I've told the story about having some chronic illnesses, particularly my edema, angioedema episodes, where I just literally have this random swelling. And there would be days where I'd have this random swelling and it shows up in my face, which means I couldn't do things like this, which is to go live, throughout the time of the pandemic. I couldn't go live. That was my only way of communicating with folks. I wouldn't be able to go live, or I couldn't do a public, presentation, right? It totally impacted. And guess what? It hasn't gone away, but it's required for me to continually pursue and take care of myself. And that's not been an easy journey, I'll be honest, right? It's one that requires consistency. It requires getting up and digging in. We'll talk about that. and making sure that you prioritize, that I prioritize myself as opposed to others. And that can be a shift. It is not something that happens overnight unless you hit a crisis mode, which none of us want to happen. Okay. So it does matter professionally for you to take care of yourself. We always talk about it from a personal perspective, but I always like to say we are not flat Stanleys, right? That means we are not one-dimensional beings. If you were one-dimensional, then yes, you could just say, oh, I'm going to take care of myself here personally, and because it doesn't affect me professionally, I can go do these things and live these separate lives. And that is not reality. We are not flat Stanleys. I love to say instead we are disco balls with all these lights and things reflecting off of us, multi-dimensional. And that means that we need to integrate rather than separate, love that, our lives in a way that allows us to be successful, allows us to be fruitful. Okay. So integrate rather than separate. Now, some people might say, well, I don't want all my business out there. I didn't say tell all your business, but I did say integrate things so that you don't try to pretend that you don't have all these other issues and things going on, which only adds a greater amount of stress and adds to any potential problems that you may have. So the first thing a lot of times people will say is, well, you just got to dig deeper and push through it. And, which gives a lot of that hustle mentality, which I have publicly stated, I have given up that hustle mentality. That hustle mentality probably almost killed me more than once, and I'm over it. So we're not talking about hustle, right? I'm too old for hustle. Hustle is great when you're young. It's really not great in general, but you can deal with it better when you're first starting something, when when you're fresh and you're really trying to get in there. But as you age, as you grow personally and professionally, you realize you cannot being in a hustle mentality is not sustainable, because it means you're always starting over. You're always starting from scratch. You're always starting from a space of, oh my gosh. And there's that tension, there's that angst, and that's not where you want to be on an ongoing basis, right? So at some point, you have to break the relationship with hustle, and do something different. And what does that mean? What does that look like? Well, when you break that relationship with hustle, you can still dig deeper without it meaning that you're pushing harder. Love that, right? You can dig deeper without pushing harder. And how is that? Well, I was all set to, to discuss my way. Then I'm like, there are people smarter than me. So I have been revisiting Brene Brown's The Gifts of Imperfection. It is one of my favorite books, and I have been meaning to, come back to it for a while and had not. So here I am. And I pull it up, and here we go. There it is right here in the introduction. We don't even get that far. And she talks about, when she's talking about people who want to live wholeheartedly and how they can, in fact, dig deep. But it's not from that hustle mentality way. It's from a different way, especially when you're exhausted and overwhelmed. Here's how she defines it, and I am in agreement with it, right? The dig is this. First, that you get deliberate. You're deliberate in their thoughts and behaviors through prayer, meditation, or simply setting their intentions. The I is for inspired. You get inspired to make new and different choices. And lastly, you get going, right? They take action. And when you think about that from a term of digging deeper with however and whatever it is you want to do next in your life and your career, those things really resonate, right? Being deliberate, being inspired, taking the action, going into the next step. And that is how I want you to think about digging deeper when it comes to how you can take better care of yourself in a way that will support you for the long haul professionally. Okay. That said, here's the honest, thing that we have to remember. You want to ask yourself some honest questions. And it really starts with one. Where are you not taking care of yourself? Most of us know exactly where that is. We don't have to have some long, drawn out point. Most of us know. And they may fall into one of these four areas: emotionally, spiritually, physically, mentally. A lot of times people automatically go to the physical and try to do, quote, go take exercise, and all that's great. But when you dig deeper, you may realize that some of that's really based in some, maybe you're not taking care of your mental health. Maybe you're not taking care of yourself emotionally or spiritually. All of these other things that come into play. So I want you to take some reflection time. You know how I love reflection time, and really be honest about where you are lacking in your self-care so that you can now double down. So guess what? You do get to double down, but in a healthier way, in a more deliberate way. And that is to make sure you take the time to double down on you, right? In a way that is focused on your priorities, not someone else's. That includes sometimes you got to put your family to the side, close friends to the side, because what is it again? If you're not taking care of you, you can't take care of and help anyone else effectively. And if you are, that means your cup is running dry. And when it's time for you to dip in and take a little sip and help yourself, there's nothing there. It's empty. Right. So let's talk about what it's going to take to fill your cup first, right? Fill your cup first. And what's that whole thing? And give others what's flow with the overflow, right? And that is a shift. Give to others from the overflow. Y'all know I'm trying to write this down because it's always good stuff and I don't want to lose it. What does that look like? And again, this requires honesty with ourselves. And it may require getting really focused on resetting boundaries, on establishing and having some conversations with those closest to us, with those at our workspace, those in our community who we're giving to. It comes from all kinds of directions, right? And guess what? I am a huge fan of a bubble bath. Like, that is my self-care thing, but not because it's just like, oh, the bath itself. It's really about the time. Taking the time to focus just on me, like that is where most of us fall down, right? We don't take the time to just focus on ourselves. It's always got to go to someone else. So it's not so much about the activity. Yeah, it's great to have a full day massage. Maybe you need, or a spa moment. Maybe you need multiples of those rather than one big one. I think I saw something last week from Adam Grant, so go check it out. I think it was on Instagram, but he was talking about some research that showed that people think when they're burnt out that if they go take a week-long vacation, that's going to take care of them and it's going to be, make it better. When in reality, what they would do better to have is multiple mini vacations, so that you can decompress over time, as opposed to putting all of this weight and pressure on this one week vacation or this 1-2 week vacation. When in reality, we need to integrate it. But remember what I said about integrating this self-care over time into our lives so that it becomes a part of who we are and how we meet our own needs, as opposed to some false expectation of what a 1-week vacation is going to do, right? I'm again not saying 1-week vacations aren't worthwhile. They absolutely are. But think about what is it you're expecting from it. If you're expecting that 1-week vacation to relieve all this other pressure that you're feeling emotionally, physically, whatever, mentally, then it's time to reconsider it and to revisit it and think about what it is you actually need to engage in over time in order to provide yourself the quality self-care that we all deserve. All right. Because you do deserve it. And if you want a successful career, a successful business, then you're going to need to do it. Okay. Now, this is not me saying, oh, preachy and saying this is what you need to do, because I'm going to be upfront and tell you this is what I have to do for myself. And it's an ongoing process. I'm always talking about the journey. This is one of those things that is a journey for me, because historically I am known to overgive to others first as opposed to myself. Now, here's the thing. When I was doing that while also having a very high profile and successful career, guess what that leads to? At some point in time, it's going to lead to some burnout, right? If I'm not taking that time to focus on me appropriately. What did that look like? Well, when I go back and I revisit, there were some things I was doing way back when. I'm like, well, how was I keeping those schedules and doing all of those things that, when I don't have that kind of insane schedule as much now, but it seems like it's just harder. Well, it's because I naturally was gravitating to doing more of those things that I just enjoyed, like scrapbooking and the crafting things. Certain things that fulfill me from an artistic standpoint, a lot more gardening and all of that, right? Those were my outlets. And when I go back and I look at what the shift was, well, as I started trying to really I got to focus on making this business successful. Well, what was happening was I stopped doing the things that were giving me the joy and the break that I needed and that was feeding me in order to be successful in terms of this next, whatever my next level goals were. All right. So we're coming to that realization. I have to shift, pull back, and reevaluate where I am, what I've been doing. And that happens more than once. It's not a one and done. I know I've been saying that a lot, but none of this is a one and done thing. Right? It is absolutely a journey. So there we are, just the beginning, kind of, tip of the iceberg, I'm sure, on the self-care conversation and how important it is for your personal and professional growth as well. I would love to hear from you all about what that looks like for you, right? What are the struggles that you may have been having in providing yourself with high quality self-care? And what does it look like for you? Or what do you hope for it to look like for you in the future? Happy to have you engage in the comments or just hit me up in the DMs. I love to hear those stories so that, I can use that as some fodder perhaps to help others, because it's not just about helping you and me, it's about helping everyone so that we can all achieve those goals that we want to at the levels that we want to, but we've got to do it from a space of taking care of ourselves first. Okay. There we are. Love it. If you are looking for a deeper conversation or need to flesh out some particular issues or concerns you might have with your next level professional growth, then click on the link in the bio. It should send you to a calendar link where you can schedule 20 minutes and we can have a little chit chat about what works for you and what you might be needing next. And always keep an eye out for new opportunities in the online and in the link tree. Okay. Take care, everyone. I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.